All right, today we're diving into a real medical mystery. It's about a group of devastating genetic disorders that all share one name, but are hiding very different secrets at the molecular level. This is the story of Niemann-Pick disease.
So our first clue looks just like this. It's called a cherry red spot, and it's something an eye doctor might find during an infant's exam. It's a subtle, almost hidden sign, but it's also an ominous one. A sign that something is going profoundly wrong deep inside the body's cells. So what on earth could be causing this?
Okay, to start cracking this puzzle, we've got to look at the other clues, the symptoms that families and doctors are the first to notice. And, when we look at the most severe form of this disease, the picture it paints is it's absolutely heartbreaking.
You see, infants with what's called Niemann-Pick type A, they often seem perfectly healthy when they're born. But then, within just a few months, the signs start to show up. Their liver and spleen begin to swell up, they stop gaining weight like they should, and then this devastating decline begins as they start to lose the very skills they've only just started to learn. Add in severe lung damage, and this rapidly progressing disease means that, tragically, most of these children don't survive past their third birthday.
But here's the thing. These symptoms we see on the outside, they're really just the fallout from a catastrophe that's happening on a microscopic level. To really get what's going on, we need to zoom in, way in, to the tiny little factories that are running inside every single one of our cells. Okay, so deep inside our cells, we have these little organelles called lysosomes. And the best way to think of them is like the cell's own personal recycling centers. They're packed with enzymes, these tiny biological machines that break down all the cellular waste. Well, Niemann-Pick is what we call a lysosomal storage disorder. And all that means is that inside this crucial recycling center, one of the key machines is broken.
So for Niemann-Pick types A and B, what's happening is a genetic mutation messes things up, so the cell can't make a working enzyme. This enzyme is called acid Sphingomyelinase, or ASM for short. Its whole job is to break down this specific type of fat, a lipid, called sphingomyelin. Without a working ASM enzyme, that sphingomyelin can't get recycled, so it just starts to pile up and up and up, basically causing a massive backup inside the cell.
And this is what that backup looks like. What you're seeing is a macrophage, a type of immune cell, that's become what scientists call a foam cell. It is literally swollen and just clogged with all that undigested fatty material. These foam cells start to build up in the liver, the spleen, the lungs, and even the brain, and that's what causes all the organ damage we see on the outside. This right here, this is the physical evidence of that cellular traffic jam we were just talking about.
Okay, but here's where our mystery takes a really interesting turn. As scientists like Dr. Roscoe Brady started digging deeper, they realized that not all patients had the exact same problem. It turns out the single name Niemann-Pick was actually an umbrella term, kind of hiding a few different culprits at the molecular level.
Yeah, this table lays it all out pretty clearly. You've got type A, that really severe form we talked about. That's from a total or near total lack of that ASM enzyme. Then there's type B, which is caused by the same broken enzyme, but it's not as severe. There's still a little bit of enzyme activity. That means the brain is mostly okay, and patients can live into adulthood. But then you have type C. And this is a whole different beast. It's not an enzyme problem at all, but a problem with how cholesterol gets moved around inside the cell. So you end up with three very different problems all sailing under the same flag.
So to really get to the bottom of this, we have to go even deeper than the cell. We've got to go all the way to the blueprint of life itself, our DNA.
And here they are, the genetic culprits. For types A and B, the mistake is in a gene called SMPD1. For type C, the problem lies in one of two other genes, NPC1 or NPC2. And all of these are inherited in what's called an autosomal recessive pattern. Basically, what that means is that for a child to get the disease, they have to inherit a faulty copy of that gene from both of their parents. If they just get one copy, they'll be a carrier, but totally healthy. Now, overall, this is a pretty rare disease. But for type A, there's this really startling statistic. Within the Ashkenazi Jewish population, the rate is as high as 1 in 40,000. And this is because certain mutations just happen to become more common within that group over many generations. It's a genetic thing known as the founder effect.
Solving this whole molecular mystery was a huge achievement. It meant doctors could finally give accurate diagnoses and families could get genetic counseling. But more importantly, it opened the door to the biggest question of all. Can we actually fix it? So, how is science fighting back? Okay, first, let's just state the hard reality. Right now, there is no cure for any form of Niemann-Pick.
For decades, really, the only thing doctors could do was supportive care, managing the symptoms, providing nutritional help, and just trying to make patients as comfortable as possible.
But that's starting to change. For type B, there's something called enzyme replacement therapy, or ERT. And the logic behind it is just brilliantly simple. If the body's recycling centers are missing that critical machine, the ASM enzyme, well, why not just give it to them from the outside? Patients get regular infusions of a lab-made enzyme. It travels to the lysosomes, and it gets to work, clearing out all that stored-up gunk. This helps reduce the size of the liver and spleen, and can even improve lung function.
And you gotta understand, this kind of progress doesn't happen overnight. Not even close. It was an incredibly long journey. It took more than 50 years just to get from Dr. Niemann's first description of a patient in 1914 to Dr. Brady's huge discovery of the missing enzyme in 1966. And then it took almost another 50 years of painstaking research to develop a working therapy. We're talking about a century of work here. It's just a perfect example of the slow, steady, and frankly heroic march of medical science.
So we've made these incredible strides for sure, but the biggest challenge is still out there. See, that enzyme replacement therapy, it's amazing, but it can't cross what's called the blood-brain barrier. That means it can't fix the devastating neurological damage in type A or type C. And that leads us with this final tantalizing question. With new approaches like gene therapy just on the horizon, could science one day finally solve that last most difficult piece of the puzzle and bring real hope to the parts of this devastating disease that we still can't reach?